No, I think somebody who comes across very well in the book when it comes to telling stories about talent is Jon Stewart. And as much as I loved his work on The Daily Show when he started that in '99, I didn't know because, frankly, I didn't have cable television until 1995. So I didn't even know of the show Short Attention Span Theater that he was a co-host of. I was wondering if you could tell the story from the book. I think there was something that might have been, you were kind of reflecting, was that a mistake to make a decision about that show that surprised him?
Well, that was another case where the talent was surprised. And I don't even know the extent to which he was surprised. I heard that from him. And the setup is Jon Stewart was hosting Short Attention Span Theater with a co-host named Patty Rossborough, another comedian. Mm-hmm. And they'd been on the air for a few months. And mind you, this was John's first job in television. Mm-hmm. And it was not quite his first job, but he was really a baby comic. I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of experience. Mm-hmm. As soon as I saw him on television, I knew he was great. Everybody, you're watching the talent on Comedy Channel at that point, trying to figure out who's good and who's not great. And he immediately connected. Mm-hmm. Patty, it wasn't that she was bad, but John was doing so much of the talking and she was just doing so much of the laughing that she became kind of the audience. Now, I thought that was a good thing because, when you and I laugh on the podcast, then people listening or watching will laugh too. But I wasn't in charge of that show, and people said, you know what, I think John would do better by himself. So they let Patty go. Now, I don't know to what extent he got a heads up. All I know is I got a phone call saying, listen, we told John that Patty was leaving, and he is fit to be tied. I mean, he's threatening to quit. He's really upset. You got to come down here and talk him off the ledge. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, I'm not so great at this. That's why I'm not a talent person, nor was I ever. But I said, okay, I'll come down and talk to John. And I did. I walked in and I said, hey, John, listen, we just thought it was really important, and given that you were doing so well, we just thought the show would really benefit and the channel would benefit, and it was best for everyone. Patty's going to be fine. And he just said, look, you can't do that. You cannot fire someone like that. At which point I really almost wanted to just laugh because we're in a corporation, right? This is a business. The whole idea that you can't fire someone like that.
Maybe that's his inexperience.
I think that was his inexperience. Yeah. Also, it was more than that, though. It was his empathy. I mean, he really cared about Patty. It's not like they were pals from way back or anything, but she was his co-host, and they got along, and he was looking out for her. And he really felt that we had crossed the line by letting her go, especially without consulting with him about whether we should let her go. Mm-hmm. So that was a moment. But at that point, I really realized that not only was John great on television, not only was he smart and funny, but he had a lot of empathy, and he was principled and was willing to take a stand for his principles. Now, all of that showed up, as America knows, on The Daily Show.
Yes.
No surprise to me after that. And by the way, I got to know John after that. He was a terrific guy, easy to work with for the most part, and fun to hang out with. So that was Jon Stewart.
Yeah, because he comes across very favorably in that story because I think, as you pointed out in the book, a lot of people would kill to now have a solo show.
Exactly.
Say, well, sorry, I feel bad for you, Patty, but they would, and for him to react that way, I think shows a certain character that comes through very strongly. So I do admire hearing that, or admire him for that.
I'll go you one better. A lot of people who co-host are constantly whispering into the producer's ear, I could do this on my own.
Right.
I don't need that person schlepping along. But that was not John.
So at that point, you were still head of programming. And then later on, I mean, I think you might have even, as you write about in the book already, I was going to say, what do I say? Departed from, no, you were fired, as you talk about in the book. And maybe we can come back to that.
Right, that
briefly.
ended my 8 years at Comedy Central.
Yeah. But It's a surprise that. So I know that Jon Stewart had left. He was doing a show on MTV. Was it? You might be speculating because this wasn't your decision, and you might not have even been around it. But gosh, it seems like in hindsight, a mistake to not hire him to be the original host. I mean, I remember watching Craig Kilburn, and he was fine, but Jon Stewart took that to a whole new level 3 years later when he was hired.
I was around when the Daily Show was being produced. I was not producing it. The producers were not happy with Craig. They were not happy with Craig. He just wasn't putting it over the top, according to them. Now, I remember Craig. I'm not even going to comment. I just don't remember what was going on with his performance, or what was, for all we know, it was something else that was going on the set that they didn't like. They got Jon Stewart back from MTV, and sometimes in television and in movies, because it's a collaborative effort, magic happens. And this was one of those cases. You had the right producers, you had the right format, you had the right host, and it all became spectacular.
Yeah, it sure did.